What's happening? It's your girl Mercedes Eileen. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about things I did right and wrong in 2024. Now, before I get deep into the video, I would suggest that you go ahead and subscribe if you like topics about faith, healing, and mental health. Also, press the like button if you're feeling generous, or you can wait till the end of the video to see if you actually like the video to like it. That's cool too. 2024 for me has been a year of transformation, a year of exposure, like Cat Williams said that it was going to be, a year of great memories, a year of bad memories, a year of tweaking my personality and my habits to fit the woman that I want to become. This year, I learned a lot about myself when it comes to emotional and mental habits that I didn't know had formed since I'd recovered from 2022, which was a really emotionally, mentally, and physically, financially challenging year for me. Even spiritually, a spiritually challenging year for me. And I feel like ever since I've had my child, I've been recovering from that. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can probably go and find the first video that's on this channel. I think it shows up as the first one, but I talked about my experience getting pregnant with my child and going through things with the father of my child. And just at that time, it was probably like May 2022, which was right after the mental breakdown that I had. But after that mental breakdown, I have been working endlessly, continuously, consistently on my mental and emotional health. So it was actually a blessing in disguise. Something that I struggled with and got wrong in 2024 is having a lot of self-doubt and not believing in myself. I realized this year that I don't really believe in myself as much as I should, or even as much as the others around me believe in me. And I think I've talked about and touched on how that shows up in my life. Like, for instance, me not being consistent with YouTube. It's been a very challenging thing for me to be consistent on here and continue to produce videos, especially when I'm going through something hard in life, because that's when my ego is shot the most. That's when my self-esteem is being threatened the most, and it's really hard to be creative. However, as the year is coming to an end, I can take accountability for that and push past those emotions of self-doubt and not knowing if I can be successful. And I've talked about it in an actually pretty recent video about being afraid of success because I've never experienced it. And the more I talk to people outside of my intermediate family and the people that I went to school with, I realize how unexperienced I am in life and how much I haven't even thought about things that are possible that I didn't know were possible. So I think that self-doubt has a big part in keeping me so tied to my past that it's hard to, one, be present, and two, look forward to a bright future, because I feel like my past isn't as bright as I would have liked it to be. Something else I got wrong this year was not knowing how to process my emotions. And when I say wrong, I use that loosely, you guys, because we all are constantly learning, healing. We are jars of clay. God is forming us into who he wants us to be. And for me, coming off the back of my mental breakdown in 2022, I kind of went from one extreme end of the spectrum to the other. So instead of dwelling in negative emotions and not really knowing how to get out, I now have a habit of ignoring them altogether and just not dealing with them. And I didn't know that until I went to group therapy very recently, realizing that I don't know how to process stress. One, because I haven't ever felt the type of stress that I felt this year, which had more to do with career and finances, but also because I don't know how to be in the middle, right? There's wallowing in your emotions, and then there's not paying attention to them or like processing them at all. Yeah, and I can't say not pay attention because I know how to identify my emotions, but like finding that middle ground and being able to acknowledge, sit in, and process my emotions, and also be able to come out of it on the other side. But I can definitely say, after group therapy, talking about it with people outside of myself and a therapist, I've come to the conclusion that that's something that I need to learn, how to be able to process my emotions and also allow myself to feel them. Because I don't know if I talked about this in the previous video, but one issue that I realized that I had was not being able to sit in the happiness that I experience. Anytime I feel happiness, I'm like trying to find a way to sabotage it, because I know that happiness doesn't last forever. And I feel more in control when I sabotage my own happiness versus when my happiness is actually taken away from me. And I'm so scared that my happiness will be taken away from me and I will plummet and spiral into depression. And I don't ever want to be there again. So I have developed this coping mechanism of not processing negative emotions at all. But negative emotions are necessary. Negative emotions are okay. And negative emotions matter. And when you don't acknowledge them and process them, they come up in unhealthy ways or at the most inopportune times, and they can damage you and or damage the life around you. In 2024, I do not think I guarded my heart properly. I think I did a lot of forgiving, which is good because that wasn't something that I was very good at before 2024 came along. However, with forgiveness does not come an absence of boundaries. You still have to have boundaries. You have to be reasonable. You have to protect yourself and guard your heart. The Bible tells us to do that. So I think that I could do a much better job at guarding my heart while also being able to forgive people and give them grace as well. Also in 2024, I struggled to give myself grace. So there's this running theme with me, and I noticed that it's only a few people, so I don't know if it's just to those people or if it's really to everyone, just everyone doesn't call me out for it and they just accept that being who I am. But I struggle to give myself grace, and it only makes sense that I would struggle to give others grace. I have been called judgmental before, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie, y'all, this is kind of like, I think that this is a controversial take because I personally believe in accountability. I believe in being honest with myself and others, and having compassion and saying, you know, I feel you, I get you, I know that we're here. However, in order to get there, this is what we have to do. So feelings can exist, emotions can exist, and accountability can be there also. These things can exist in one space. And I think that I am very good at holding not only myself, but others accountable. I'm very honest with myself and also others. But I do think that sometimes I get into moments where I am overanalyzing and just trying to fix things that they do need to be fixed. However, they cannot be fixed at this time. So I don't know. I feel like this one is kind of half right, half wrong, because I have gotten better at giving people grace, because a lot of things that I think I don't say out loud. Moving on to things I got right in 2024. And you can see I'm smiling. I love thinking about myself at the beginning of the year and comparing it to who I am at the end of the year, because something that's really important to me is self-development, like spiritually, mentally, emotionally, relationship wise, in my relationships in my life. I just want to be the best person that I could possibly be. And I want to be good to other people. I want to be good to the people that I love as well. And I want to be a representation of Christ and his kingdom. And I feel like 2024, I did a lot of work in that area. And, you know, I'm not perfect. I'm still getting there. But it's progress. And that's what's important. But I had a lot of self-awareness this year. And that's something I feel like has been there before 2024. I became really, really self-aware whenever I was pregnant with my daughter because, like I said, I had a mental breakdown and I went through a lot of things. And specifically, being in the hospital was a big moment for me because I feel like that's when the shift in my perspective changed about who I was and what I needed to do and what am I going to do from here that can for sure not leave me here again, like in this hospital. And I realized that I needed a real detox, cleansing, and reboot of my emotional and mental and spiritual state. So ever since that day, like, I've been super self-aware. But with being super self-aware came being very aware of others as well, because I am so overly interested in people's minds, like psychology and their behavioral patterns towards themselves and others. And it doesn't just stop with other people, it's also with myself. I'm very interested in why I do the things that I do, and I'm always paying attention to it. And I always pay attention to why others do the things that they do. In 2024, self-advocacy was a big thing for me. I have not really, let me say this. I don't recall being a very defensive person, right? I don't recall protecting myself a lot. I've actually struggled to feel protected all the time. I've never really been protected, if I'm being honest. The first protection that I probably felt was with God when I gave my life to Christ. Like, I've never felt protected. And this year, I think I did a really good job of protecting myself and incorporating boundaries into my relationships, whether romantic, whether familial. Is that a word? I don't know. Family, setting boundaries with my family. And also I kind of worked on setting boundaries with myself, because I realized that my relationship with others doesn't start with them. It starts with me. How do I treat myself? What am I doing for myself that I want others to do for me? How can I expect someone outside of me to respect me, love me, see me, acknowledge me, pour into me if I'm not doing those things for myself? So this year, I did a lot of self-protection and self-advocating when I needed to. Just because I just got tired of being a victim, just feeling like people did me wrong all the time, feeling so hurt. And it's just like, no, I'm not a victim. I'm an adult, and I can take up for myself when I feel it's necessary. And it's okay if me and another person don't agree. But, my point still stands, and I'm still important, and I deserve to be protected. And that actually has to do with the next thing that I did right in 2024. I took accountability. Okay? So whenever I think about all the things that I have been through, specifically, like I said, the mental breakdown 2022, it always comes back to that. I just feel like, that's my testimony. Like, not just spiritually, but like the start of, I feel like that was the foundation of who I am today. Like, I feel like I DIED and came back to life in that situation. So a lot of my thought processes and stuff will probably stem from that, FYI. I had to take accountability for my current circumstances. I had to take accountability for the relationships in my life and how they turned out. And I had to take accountability for how I felt inside. And I kind of touched on that with the last point of me not protecting myself, me not loving myself, me not pouring into myself and expecting other people to do that for me. I took accountability for ignoring red flags that I should not have. I took accountability for not taking care of myself how I needed to, and building up anger and stress and letting it get to a point where it broke me down, even if it was just for a moment. I took accountability in the area of spirituality. I got saved, gave my life to God. Thank you, Jesus. And I am still being worked on to this day. I'm definitely not perfect in any sense of the word. And that was part of giving myself grace, things that I need to work on for sure. But I got saved. Hallelujah. That was one of the best things I've ever done in my life. And my life has not been the same since. But yeah, I took accountability, and it has definitely given me a new outlook on life. And it kind of contributes to the self-doubt that I have, because honestly, simply put, my circumstances are usually within my control. Okay? Like, I'm not talking about spiritually, because spiritually everything is in God's control. We know this. But I could pray more. I could be more consistent with things that I haven't been consistent with. I could take time out for myself and develop ritualistic practices that I do to make sure that I have the patience to deal with my daughter better, to not get angry at her, to be more patient with myself, to give myself more grace. All of these things are my responsibility, with the exception of like, you know, God, because he's like constantly working on me. Did I mention that? But yeah, I took accountability, and it's scary because now, you know, if something isn't working out, it's my fault. Or if I can't accept something not working out, it's my fault because I'm not connected enough to God to be able to trust him and not let said things stress me out. No, I'm not perfect, but my end all goal is to be able to trust God to the point where when something isn't going my way, I'm rejoicing. You understand me? Like, nothing should be getting me down this low. Nothing should be getting me out of character because God is in control. He knows what is best for me, even when I don't know what's best for myself. He knows what I don't need, even when I think I need this thing. So, yeah, I took accountability, and also I held others accountable, which kind of goes to what I was talking about earlier when I said, you know, grace is like, it's like a thin line to toe, you know, because as much as I want to give people grace and myself grace, I also don't want to enable myself or others to get complacent and stay in a place where I or said other is not fulfilled. If I love you, I'm going to like tell you things that I think you need to hear, not unsolicited, you know what I'm saying? But when we're in a deep conversation, when we're venting to each other, you know, like, you know, we're talking about real things, I'm going to be real with you. And it was beautiful because I actually just recently had a moment like this with a family member when they were crying to me and like venting about this situation. And I felt compassion for them. And, you know, I let them know that it's okay. Like, God has it. Whatever is for you is going to be for you. And whatever is not, will not. But I also, you know, said, hey, this is what has to happen. This is just the result of actions that were taken. You know, so we have to hold ourselves accountable and be honest with ourselves, because if not, like, we just stay in a cycle of toxicity and dysfunction. And I don't want anyone around me to be in that. And if I can do anything about it, I will, whether it's through encouraging words, whether it's through compassion, and whether it's through holding them accountable. So yeah, those are all the things that I got wrong and right in 2024. And go ahead and comment down below if you had any experiences like this or you have anything to say about it. I would love to conversate. I would love to converse with anyone under this video. Go ahead and subscribe if you made it this far, and like the video if you made it this far. I thank you so much for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Be blessed.